Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we've got some more new knives to show you. This time, some new 2021 releases from Artisan Cutlery and CJRB, their budget subsidiary. And we've got our friend Russell from that company right now to talk to us about the knives. How are you, sir?
Doing good, David. Doing good. How about you?
Doing good as well. Always great to have you on. So let's jump right in. I think I've got one new CJRB on the table with me today. So why don't we
boy.
start with that model?
All right. So just a little background on this guy. So Q4 and for a lot of last year, we released a lot of really nice CJRB models. The Rhea, we had the Milea, a lot of smaller, more kind of, easier to carry knives, great profiles, nice thin blades. But, some people just want something a bit more substantial. So we figured we kind of go back to our roots a little bit, and we are making this one. This is a Tigris, and unabashedly big, chunky, overbuilt cleaver folder. And this thing feels amazing in hand.
It's definitely one of those smile inducers. What did you call it? Was that the Tigris?
The Tigris, like the river. The original name for this one was the Tiger, because it is a massive, powerful blade. And it's like, well, tiger, Tigris, Latin for tiger. Also the river in the Middle East. It's kind of got that very powerful flow to it. It's got a nice kind of flowy shape, kind of a little, these very clean, sharp lines with this just ever so slightly bellied blade. This thing
very slight.
Yeah, especially because it's almost a full flat. So that's got such cutting power. And this thing is, I got, you've seen my hands. I am a standard medium-sized glove guy, but compared to your hands, this is fitting just right.
I've still got plenty of length on mine for my slightly larger than average hands. I still fit on there just fine.
Oh, yeah. And you'll notice the one cool thing about this guy is how we did the G10. This is actually layered G10. So we have that top color, so in that standard texture G10. Then we have the second layer here that is a line milled G10. So you got a little bit of extra shape, but it contours the handle really nicely in the hand. And on top of that, we did a little bit of a little custom hardware there. Sorry, I actually can't see my video, so we're kind of just put it up to the camera. So we have this indented pivot here that's really classy, and a customized clip. So we actually made a much larger, more substantial deep carry clip on this one. And one thing I'm kind of stoked about, as much as I'm not really a lanyard person myself, I do kind of like this really over-the-top lanyard loop. You'll actually notice there's a little cutout in here so the lanyard hangs as straight as possible outside the pocket.
Yeah, that's nice.
So if you like doing big old lanyards, so like big bead, big lanyard, long carry, this is going to hang straight out of the pocket. So it's just going to go up and go over. So it really is just, it's such compared to everything that we did last year and all these designs that everyone loves for their sleekness and cleanness and how easy they are to carry, this is for the guy that says, that's not my thing. I want a knife that works, that cuts, that I can carry easily, and that packs a lot of power. And this is it.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
It's something. It is something. And it's so crazy looking. I adore it. So that is the Tigris coming in at a very comfortable 6.4 ounces. It is not a light.
It's not too bad when you consider exactly everything you're getting here. I don't have a spec sheet in front of me that looks about like a 3.5-inch blade there.
Yep. 3.5-ish.
3.5-ish, exactly. And you're using RPM 9 steel, your guys' new powder steel on this. Tell us a little more about that.
Oh, so RPM 9 was one of our big projects from last year. We kept it under the radar a little bit just because it was it's experimental. No one has come out, honestly, no one in recent years has come out with a budget proprietary or specialty steel. And with the big shift to D2 over the last 2 or 3 years from a lot of overseas companies and even a lot of, US companies are starting to use more D2, there is a bit of a D2 burnout. And you'll hear it all the time. Reviewers online, a lot of our customers say, hey, I like D2, it's a good steel, but I'm just tired of seeing it. On top of that, the big thing about D2 is it's got that little bit of corrosion issue. It's not a huge issue. And as someone who likes D2 a lot, I don't see it as a big problem. But I live in California. It's dry as heck here. Heck, everything's on fire all the time. It's really dry. I'm not worried about rust and corrosion as long as I have a few minutes to, maybe take care of my knife, clean it, wipe it down, maybe a little oil once in a while, fine. But if every time I, go somewhere else that is a bit more humid, I'll end up with a little bloom on my knife if I don't take care of it. And that is a bit of a pain. So what we want to do with RPM 9, this is our way of trying to meet in the middle of everything on the budget side of the knife world. We wanted good edge retention. We wanted corrosion resistance. We wanted ease of sharpenability. So what we ended up with was a formula that has a lot of similarities to, we'll say, several of the other budget steels out there, with a tiny bit of extra cobalt added, and it's powdered. So this helps that grain structure get nice and like refined, nice and tight. It keeps that edge alignment really, it keeps the edge structure substantial enough, but easy to maintain. Mm-hmm. So the really cool thing about RPM 9, more than a lot of other steels out there, is this stuff strops really well. So for those who tend to take their knife out and just beat the living heck out of it, yeah, sharpen it like regular. But those who use it for everyday carry, if they're doing boxes and small tasks and regular tasks, rope, fiber, and not, I don't know, chopping wood with their knife, this can you just take a belt and you take your strop, you take your pace, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're back to hair popping sharp, which is something very few steels have the capacity to do right now. There are some excellent higher end steels that do that well, but very few budget steels outside of those that tend to be a little on the soft side. On top of that, we really wanted to really just ramp up that corrosion resistance. So we put a ton of chromium in this. It is very stainless. In fact, I actually did a test with this. I didn't post it because the test was downright inconclusive. I'm like, how long does it take for RPM 9 to corrode? I left it in a jar of what was it? The gardening vinegar. So the 4-time power vinegar, which usually if you put D2 in there, dip dark. I left it in there for 4 hours and nothing happened. So I'm like, I have no data. This is an inconclusive test to show how this holds up. So yes, it's very stain resistant and it maintains really well at a price point that is similar to most other budget steels on the market. We're very proud of this because it works incredibly well, and we're very happy to offer this on a large percentage of our upcoming knives this year. So yeah, we're really happy about it. RPM 9 is really neat stuff. And
I've been playing around with one of your guys' Rias for a little while with the RPM 9, and I've gone through and actually like sharpened it fully once just to say I've done it. But most of the time, I'm with you. I'm just kind of stropping it up every now and then and having a great time with that steel.
It's good stuff. It maintains very well, and it takes such a nice fine edge so quickly. I think one thing we found in our testing of it, we actually sent some of this to Mike Emler, who is quite a sharpener, as you know. He does a lot of stuff. He actually designed our Sea Snake, and great guy, but he is a professional sharpener by trade. He does Japanese style sharpening, and he does it very well. He's found that some stones do better. He likes ceramic versus oxide stones, but they all work, and they all do it quickly and easily. And it's something that you don't find in a lot of the more high-end steels, is there aren't a lot of those that are meant to be easily maintained. I mean, when was the last time that you tried to sharpen 3V or M4? Because the last time I did, I gave up. I'm like, here, let me send it to someone who knows what they're doing. This is just a few passes on a strop, and you're good to go. And I think that's one thing that is severely missing from the knife world, is maintainability along with that nice edge retention. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, I've been enjoying it, and I gotta say, you were talking about chopping wood. With this Tigris, you might be able to do a little bit of light chopping. I
may have taken this outside and done a bit with it, and just a little bit.
Well, it's a really cool knife. The blade itself, I mean, it definitely makes a statement, that's for sure. But this is just the first of the new knives we're looking at today.
Oh, yes. So let's put that guy down. So now we're going into Artisan territory, correct?
Yes. So I'll let you lead before I pick it up.
All right. So we have another one here, and we want to kind of get some clean lines going on this one. This is directly from our in-house team. This is the Cazador. Let's flip it around so you can actually see the profile there. Oh, you got the neat one with the micarta. So
yeah, the burlap there.
Yeah, we want to make something super clean. Considering last year, again, we looked at our data and people like our cleaner, crisper, more clean line knives. And this is kind of our take on something a little bit bigger, a little bit more straightforward, with a very kind of clean teardrop shaped handle, traditional Wharncliffe style blade. So just a straight Wharncliffe, no cuts, just a straight sloped Wharncliffe. Just a bit of a finger choil here. You kind of got it's more of a we kind of fit it in there. It actually fits pretty well for my fingers. We may widen it a little bit in the final production. And this big old huge pivot to act as an accent with a titanium pivot collar and we actually did a new style clip on this, a slightly contoured, curved paddle style clip that sits flush with the back end of the knife.
Yeah.
Just really cleanly sits right there, sits in the pocket really nice. We have our regular, our hidden lanyard pin right there. And this thing is just so buttery smooth. Look at that. I would say it's drop shutty, but the blade is quite light, so it isn't going to have a perfect drop shut, but the opening on this is so nice, and that's thanks to the placement of the flipper on here. Notice that you have kind of this more mountain-shaped flipper, this just straight pointer. So this light switches really well, and it push buttons just as well. But profile-wise, this is something kind of between a gentleman's knife and just a larger EDC without taking up a lot of space. And the contoured scales in this just feel fantastic. It's so clean. And that was the idea. Just clean, clean, clean.
Yeah.
So
in a way, it's kind of, with the handle, it's kind of an inverted sway back almost.
Yes. I kind of had that thought too. It's really just, if you curved it the other way and sit it differently, yeah, it would be very sway backish. But even in pocket with that profile, it's very easy to pocket. It is a little wider than I would have thought. I thought it was going to sit a little bit deeper, but with the way this sits, it's almost just kind of vertical lines.
Yeah, I would say it's not aggressively wider. I mean, you do get a bit sticking up there, but that's still going to be a very easy knife to stash in your pocket.
It's very pocketable. And considering that it is a 3.5-inch blade, it is pretty long. You get a lot of cutting power out of this guy. And if you like a Wharncliffe style blade, I'm seeing more pure Wharncliffes on the market these days instead of the modified Wharncliffes with the angled grinds. And these have been proven to be very effective knives for everyday carry tasks. I mean, if you're doing things that require you to, if you're working with boxes and tape and office things, this shape is excellent. And while we were looking at these, we noticed a lot of people who liked hunting use Wharncliffes for smaller tasks. This is the kind of blade they carry for everything that doesn't involve skinning and, all that kind of, since I am not a hunter, unfortunately, California again, but for a lot of tasks that are outside the realm of, processing, the Wharncliffe is a highly effective tool. And on top of that, we're finding a lot more tactical knives are being made with Wharncliffes as well. So we thought the Cazador was a fitting name. On top of that, the Cazador is also it's got a little wasp action going on there. I believe that is a colloquial name for the tarantula wasp. And if anything, with stinger this thing does.
Yeah, I mean, tactical uses, obviously, you've got a lot of piercing capability there. And the fact that it is a straight edge and it's not like a modified Wharncliffe, even with a little bit of belly, very easy to keep in a cut, keep it from slipping out from those long cardboard cuts or any of the heavier cuts you might be doing. Yeah, good stuff.
So it's kind of just a bigger gentleman's knife. So that is the Cazador.
Excellent. What is next for us, sir?
Excellent. All right, so this is one of my personal favorites, and this one is actually out now. So this one will be available very soon. We just got it out right before this. This is one we've been working on for about, it's almost been a year. And this is a collaboration with Cerberus Knives, who is he's a young machinist and designer from Southern California. He actually runs a scale making company and he is one of the best machinists I have talked to in a long time. The guy is fantastic, but his design was so incredibly clean and so just well done that we had to put this one out. This is the Arion, and I am absolutely in love with this blade shape. This is such a neat knife, and we put our double coral micarta on there that you guys actually have on the Rhea and the non-locking Archeo.
Yes, it's a very good color.
It's awfully pretty. It is awfully pretty, but this is by no means a small knife. This is a real wide, slicey knife, but it is incredibly thin.
Well, again, about 3.5-ish inches long, but to your point, thin. This is not a very heavy knife overall.
It actually comes in at 3.5 ounces for something that is definitely over that ounce and inch mark, especially with the micarta scale. So we're just using a straight piece of micarta. There are no liners in there because we actually contoured the micarta. The strength of that is fine. You can give it a good grip and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We also did a bit of micromilling on the back here. It's actually a little hard to pick up on the camera. Let's see if I can.
We'll try to get a good close-up of that here, of course.
Yeah, we'll do that. But it's just some nice, neat micromilling. And this very small clip offers a really great profile in the pocket because you can just put it in there, and you notice how it's just slightly angled.
Mm-hmm.
This is meant to maximize or minimize how much of this knife you can really feel in your pocket. Your hand just slips past it because it hangs and kind of pushes it into the the backside of your pocket. And the opening hole on this one was kind of something that we had a lot of talk about when we originally put out the prototype of this. A lot of people were looking at this saying, "All right, I don't know about that. Is that going to work? It's kind of small." It works great because the way this actually, I'll do it left-handed because heck, as a righty, but you can slow roll this so easily because all you got to do is kind of let your finger travel along that chamfer there. If you want to flick it, no problem. If you want to middle finger flick it, I'm a fan of that. That has been my go-to fidget for this thing, is that middle finger flick. I've seen Chris has done the whole 5-finger flick challenge on this thing, no problem. It is just it's a fidgety knife, but that's not really what it was made for. This is a user. But look at that profile. It's got just the right amount of belly, a really fine tip, a nice thin profile, and thin stock, not thin profile. But it is a cutter. My goodness, this thing works so well. And the original proto we did in RPM 9, but the full production version, this is actually an S35. So we went up on the materials a little bit, classed it up a little bit, and this thing carries and uses like an absolute dream. We are so happy to have worked with Chris on this one, and this is just such a neat and intriguing knife. And in its simplicity, I think it really just nails so many of the factors of a good everyday carry and a good larger carry. For someone who wants to carry a bigger knife as a folder, I think this kind of hits all those categories as well without weighing a ton. It's not a brick in hand.
Yeah.
It's light, fluid, it's agile. And it's just got so much cool factor too. I am in love with this thing. I absolutely adore it. And I am so happy we're finally able to get this one out.
Yeah, that blade is going to work for all kinds of different stuff. Like you said, not too much belly, just enough. Very acute tip, so all your piercing stuff. And I like the particular angle as it goes out towards the tip. Gives you kind of just enough clearance as you point it down a little bit. If you're doing anything on a surface, like on a cutting board, if you do happen to use it for food prep, or any kind of cutting on a surface, you're actually able to utilize probably a good 2/3 of that blade edge in that type of cut. It's angled just right for that sort of thing.
Exactly. That was actually part of the intention. Chris actually mentioned that he did a lot of food prep with this one as well. And it does work well for that. And you're right about that percentage of where the blade is. It really does kind of hit a surface really well. If you're using this, he's a machinist. He uses this for some really weird stuff when it comes to like taking care of cleaning out machines, beating up stuff. He took this and he absolutely beat on it. It went through tasks that I'm just like, are you serious, man? Are you trying to bust this thing? He loves it. And we are very happy that he likes it. And we're very happy that it just worked out so well for everyone. So that is the Arion by Cerberus Knives.
Very nice. All right. Well, the next knife on the table is actually on my table, but not yours, I think.
Unfortunately, I'm really sad about that.
You guys sent us an early version here of the new liner lock version of the Centauri.
Yep. So we are due after one whole year, just about one whole year of people asking and begging and I'm getting phone calls later. It's like, hey, when are you guys gonna release a budget version of the Centauri? And I'm sitting there going, I don't know, but it's coming. It's gotta. It's too good to pass up. We finally got around to it. So this is the Centauri, designed by Ray Laconico, now in a inset liner lock version. The version you have in your hands, it was really much the only proto that we have right now. We are thinking about how we're going to do this. We talked with Ray recently, and we want to add a little bit more of an accent to it. So we're probably going to be adding a brass pivot collar. But this is that wonderful sheep's foot style Laconico with a front flipper and that really aggressive blade. And this is such an amazing knife. And it kind of hit at a weird time last year because we released it just before SHOT Show last year. And post SHOT Shows when everything kind of went a little crazy in the world. So
just a little bit. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I know, right? So the Centauri, unfortunately, it just didn't get the coverage it deserved. It was meant to be our big IP for last year. And while it definitely got attention, it just didn't get what we were expecting. since reviewers picked it up, enthusiasts picked it up, but it was meant to just like boom, be like the big hit for Artisan.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our thing with it. We produced several different models. We have a Damascus version with carbon fiber. We have the micarta version with S35 and Damascus and all these other versions. But everyone wanted to see the budget version. Every time, everyone who mentions like, when are we going to see a D2 G10? So in this case, we decided to kind of meet in the middle once again. This is going to have a inset liner with G10 or other material scales and an S35 VN blade. This is the best all-round version of this knife, and we're hoping to come in at a very comfortable price point with this one too, so you can get that excellent experience with the Centauri. You get that excellent flipping action, that front flipper action, and you get to put a Ray Laconico style knife in your pocket. Also, if you look at the clip on that one, we did a full tie clip on that one. Instead of doing a regular deep carry clip, we just did the same tie version of the clip that goes on the regular Centauri.
Well, I like that you kept that that clip there, because that's one of the things I've liked about the original. I mean, I remember when you showed me one of those at SHOT Show last year, and I really dug it. I dig that powerful blade shape going on there. It's powerful, but it's a little bit different. Like, it's not just like anything else out there. And you mentioned the action. Regulars on this channel will know I'm never the best when it comes to front flippers, but this is one that I've never had a problem with. I've always enjoyed the action on this guy.
It's so good. Ray really dialed this one in. I am surprised. Working with Ray has been wonderful. He is really just like, hey, why don't we make these little changes? I'm like, that's genius. Okay, awesome. And this was a departure from his I can't say his conventional work, because Ray has got such an eye for clean lines. He's just that quintessential knife maker where you could look at something and say, that's Laconico. And you could just look at it and say that, and it could almost be a straight knife. Straight handles, straight lines, clean blade.
But you still know.
You see, yeah, just like it's a Laconico. This one was departure. This is probably one of, at least in my opinion, one of his most kind of out there designs. It's got a lot of shapes in it compared to something like he's compared to a lot of his models. This has a lot of shapes. It's got more angles. It's got that swedge. It's got a blade shape that has more slope to it, but it still screams Laconico. And that front flipper was, again, something that is a little different. I mean, Ray has only done a few front flippers, but in this case, it's such a clean angle at that top. Notice that there's that nice clean slope from the back to the flipper, and the angle is perfect. It just hits and it's out.
Yeah, I really dig it. And we've actually been looking for some opportunities ever since you showed us that original. And I think now's the time with this new version, letting the viewers out there know that KnifeCenter is working on a few exclusive variations of this. We're just getting them rolling right now.
Oh, I'm very excited to see those. So,
they're gonna look really good.
Oh man, it's gonna be so cool.
Well, thank you for sending this to us. As you were mentioning before we started recording, Russell hasn't even gotten to hold this prototype yet.
I am a little jealous, and that's an understatement, because I love the Centauri. It is one of my favorite knives we've made. And I'm just like, come on, I want to see it.
It's coming back to you. It's okay. It's okay.
Baby.
Well, that's it for the folders. We've actually got a couple of new Dylan Mallory fixed blades next, though.
Yes. All right. So fixed blades are something we kind of dipped our toes into last year. And you actually had the sea snake on one of your recent videos. And, that knife seems to have done very well. I'm not sure what your guys' sales on it are currently, but our sales are saying they are flying. And it really kind of came down to, it was a very different kind of fixed blade. It was different. It was unique. It was priced well. It was something that was accessible, but still had a designer name behind it. It had really cool, it had just a really well done small knife. So we are deciding, hey, let's do a few more fixed blades. I know how much you like fixed blades.
I'm a bit of a fixed blade junkie, I admit.
I saw your collection video. I'm just like, man, that's something, man. They're going, I could two hands on one of those. Jeez. But anyway, let's go with the larger of the two.
Sure.
I have right here. This is a Dylan's take on a utility knife that kind of tackles some different tasks than what you normally find in a more conventional utility fixed blade. This is the Silax, like oak, like willow. So because of that willow leaf shaped blade. And This is a bit of a long knife. We are going to be making a few changes to this one to kind of widen the blade a little bit and make that choil a little bit bigger. But in its current iteration, this tackles a few more kind of outdoor and kitchen tasks more than outdoor and bushcraft tasks.
Definitely.
So you get a lot of blade. This is a solid 5-inch blade with this nice clean belly and a very thin profile and a very acute tip.
Yes.
So I actually took this one, and this spent about 2 weeks in the kitchen. Again, mine has just marks from Scotch-Brite pads all over it. I should have cleaned it a bit better. But this thing is a wonderful, just general user. And as utility knives go, as an outdoor knife, this also has it'll serve a lot of purposes that you wouldn't be able to do with a much shorter knife. So if you have your standard, let's say you're pulling a 3.5-inch knife. Those are wonderful for a lot of tasks, a lot of harder use, a lot of closer in tasks. But if you need a slicer, if you're doing tasks that require long cutting or trimming, this is really excellent. We made sure to balance the blade really well. It's got a nice substantial contour G10 handle. So we actually did some really smooth contouring there. Full tang, obviously.
Yep. Yeah, it's a neutral shape on that handle, but it feels very good despite not being, it's not like a big chunky handle, but it does sit in there very nicely.
I think the best way to say it is it's slim and contoured. And it does sit very nicely in the hand. In fact, in my case, I have plenty of extra in the back. If I want to widen my grip and really kind of get in there and get kind of a pinch grip going on right here on the spine, or a pinch grip here, this works very well. And it's kind of a departure from a lot of things I've seen before, because this knife, when I looked at it initially, when I got the Protos in hand, it was a bit of an enigma. It's like, well, what is this for? And Dylan's answer is pretty much everything. I'm like, you're not wrong. You're really not wrong. It does meet a lot of tasks in a way that we don't expect it to. And, this has been, as using this knife in the kitchen and using this knife outdoors, it really does tackle a lot of things very well. It's not like I'm sitting there bearing into cuts, but I don't need to. I can slice. I can do full cuts. And because it's so slim, even with this Kydex sheath, nice slim profile. We'll probably be including a clip of some sort with this, obviously, as a belt clip. But this does not carry with a large profile. In fact, this one I dropped in my backpack, and it just goes right in there. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And the weight isn't super substantial. This is coming in at 4.6 ounces, so not exactly light, but not heavy either. So for what it does, it is a unique and interesting fixed blade that just does so much and kind of changes up the game a little bit. So that is, and of course, this is an RPM 9, so you get that nice stainlessness that comes with it. So again, it's quite suitable for the kitchen or camp.
And if you're the kind of person who uses a kitchen steel, that same thing that lets that strop up really easily, it's going to work real well on that.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely has some kitchen vibes to me. That's kind of where my eye took it when I first pulled this Proto out of the box. Kind of reminds me in a way of a 5-inch sushi knife almost. It's got that kind of profile.
It's that tip that allows you to really finalize those cuts. If you're doing a cut along the entire length of the blade, if you're using a traditional German or Western style chef's knife, as someone who does like cooking a lot, the tip of the knife is always something I'm just like, all right, yes, if I was really good in a professional kitchen, I'd be doing a lot of tip cuts with a full-size chef's knife. But I'm not. I'm a home cook. In this case, with this tip, if you're doing a long cut, you really finalize the cut on the tip there with a lot of force. Instead of having that straight tip or just that kind of more even shape, you're really kind of pulling up in the tip, pulling up. This is just straight across.
Just pulls right through.
And it works the same for processing. I may have taken this to a lot of cardboard. We'll just say that because
absolutely.
I bet
it's that same kind of Warncliffe-y advantage that we were talking about earlier.
And just for fun, it's just like, this is great. This is awesome. Slice. And it felt great. It felt amazing to do that with this knife. Sure. It just has this wonderful feel to it.
Yeah, it's got the right shape and the right geometry. And especially you said you were going to widen it out here at the heel just a little bit.
A tad, just to kind of ensure that the fingers are a little farther away. This is it's sized for Dylan's hand, who has fairly small hands. And I think the idea behind it's correct. It just needs a bit more something here and a bit more height. So we were hoping to get just a teeny tiny bit more in there, just kind of adjust for slightly larger hands and slightly
Yeah.
more kind of, you want to make sure that you can kind of get on a table.
Yeah, I think it's going to make a good utility knife, like you mentioned, but I think my go-to recommendation for folks for this knife is going to wind up being, if you're looking for a camp kitchen knife or just an upgrade to some of the utility knives in your kitchen, or especially with that Kydex sheath there, it's something I always do with one of my knives that I have in my collection is if I'm going to an Airbnb, they've never got a great set of kitchen knives there. Throw that in your suitcase and you're good to go.
Oh, I just had the experience with that where they had those like full serrated, really super thin, like $5 knives, and I'm just like, I am going to use a slip joint for most of my cutting.
It's just
knives.
embarrassing.
Oh my goodness, no, this is perfect for that because it's the right size. If you're doing it overnight somewhere, this is just right for that. This is take it in a backpack, take it camping, take it to an Airbnb. It does everything really well.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a neat knife. So that is the Silax.
All right. We got one more in front of me here.
Right. This one's fun. And I will say this is a fun, cool, just wild knife. This is the Hystrix. And it's got a distinctive ring on the end there. I like to call it the I don't know if this is going to get into the video, but I like to call it the COVID safe knife. So that's your little number pad presser right there.
There you go.
This thing is just something. This is so cool. Oh my goodness. This is such a neat. I would hesitate to call this anything other than a tactical knife.
Yeah.
And look at that point. This is actually switch over to the left hand so you can see the full profile. This is actually very reminiscent of the Centros in his profile. So the CJRB Centros that we released in 2019 that has sold incredibly well for us. It's a very well done knife, actually one of my personal favorites. But the blade profile is actually similar, except it's way more needle pointed. And with this very thin, light handle and this big ring, we're probably going to make the ring a little bigger, just a tad bigger. But this sits so nicely in the hand. And of course, that reverse grip is just where it's. Oh my goodness, it's a nice pick.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say it's a tactical knife, and yes, I'd say it absolutely is. But again, I think a great blade shape here for breaking down cardboard, heavier utility tasks like that.
It's a knife that is a absolute joy to use. I think that's one thing I found with this particular model is that while I look at it and I say, hey, that's so cool. That's fun. At the same time, like, yes, this cuts, it works, it slices. Because look at that, it's got a lot of belly. Like this it's not just a ventilator. It's not just an ice pick. This is a real cutter. And while that tip is incredibly fine, you get plenty of belly right here. You get plenty of space to slice. You get a long blade, plenty of work with. And with that ring, I think the one way that I was thinking about this is a bird and trout knife on steroids.
In a way,
This is a processing knife. And intentionally, it kind of fits a lot of categories because it's not a tiny little like diminutive bird and trout knife, which, they certainly serve their purpose. Bird and trout knives are excellent for a lot of things. But in this case, you do get a full handle. You do get contouring. You do get a choil to put your finger. You do get this a little extra on the ring. And it does a lot of things really well. This one, again, I had a little fun with outside. I may have stabbed it into various things. I'm really happy with the way the tip is not broken.
Right.
But I had a good time with this one. Actually, I have a second one, and that one is significantly more beat up looking because I put it through a few things that weren't too smart. And it's not video pretty, we'll put it that way.
Well, I like about the handle is seems to be fitting a decent range of hand sizes, both your smaller and my larger hands. I've got still plenty of length right there. I don't feel like I'm going to be slipping forward onto that edge whatsoever.
Yeah, it really does have good contouring, especially with this slightly shadow box. Let's get it up to the camera. There's just a slight bit of shadow boxing on the scales. And I know that some people say that they're not fond of proud liners, but I think in the case of this one, because it's such a thin profile, it actually feels like there's a bit more contouring to everything. It adds a bit more something to it. And I like the way that feels because it feels fluid in the hand. I think that's a good way to say it. It really feels like you're able to move it and manipulate it really well without saying, oh, it's slippery.
Yeah.
it seats well. Like you can full fist grip this thing and it's there. You can pinch grip it. You can even I can't quite squeeze all my fingers in there, but I have done cuts like this where I'm just pinching the blade and it's nice in hand.
Yeah, it feels very nimble in all kinds of grips. Like you're not fighting any kind of excess weight. It's nimble is the word.
Yeah. Nimble is I should have thought of that. Well, it's much better than my word.
Yeah, you can use that later. You got it.
I'll take it. But yeah, it's such a neat knife. It is such an interesting, fun piece that I think it's going to be one of those knives that everyone looks at and says, wow, that's awesome. That's cool. That's fun. I don't know what I do with it, but I want it. And then when they get it, they're going to find a billion tasks for it.
Yeah.
It so many tasks well. And I just got to say, it's really fun to carry. Like just being able to just reach down and straight out the side and just like, I'm a ninja. It is.
Russell, you're not a ninja. I'm sorry.
Too old.
I don't mean to burst your bubble, but honesty is important. I'm sorry, bud. But you can feel like a ninja.
Oh man. But it is so incredibly satisfying. Like just the tactile sensation of this, where you can just hook and pull and it's in hand, grip tight, and it's there, is just a absolute joy. I normally wouldn't put down a fixed blade for fidget factor, but I kind of think so. There is a bit of fidget factor here that is just thoroughly enjoyable. And the Hystrix kind of brings this fun element into knives. Yes,
it is. It's nice. There's one little detail I think I see that I appreciate that probably deserves a little bit of a call out, and that's this little scalloping right in front of the ring here on the G10 there, which makes it very comfortable coming in and out of that ring. Like you're not getting hung up on the G10 at all to use that.
Right. That was very intentional. We wanted to make sure that transition was comfortable. And when you're doing a grip that's close in like this, you don't want that G10 to really like stick into the finger because, again, there's a joy factor here. There's something that we wanted this to feel good in hand. This is not just, it's not just for the hardcore operator. This is something that us as knife nerds, we like. We like fun things. We like things that make us go, that's cool. Yep. Like we love that kind of stuff. And this is so much of that.
Got a couple of those going on. Yeah. No, it's a really cool piece, very much.
But I will definitely say that in terms of actual usage, this thing shines in so many categories just because of that thin blade stock and this really kind of that slightly wider profile and this long cutting surface. It does shine as a cutter and as a user. It just got so many good things. It screams Dylan Mallory. That's what this thing does. It screams Dylan's design.
Yeah, actually, it's got a pretty similar blade shape to the Archeos as well, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, the Archeon Centro is kind of drawn Dylan's kind of styling. He loves his spear/drop points. He loves his fine points. He loves his sleek angles. He has, there were several people that compared it to a race car. It's like, it's a fighter jet. It's a race car. It's sleek. It's smooth. It's aerodynamic. And this has it too. The blade is super aerodynamic. It pretty much paints speed lines on this thing. Right. It's got that feel to it, and it's very distinctive of Dylan's style. And I think that this particular one, as a fixed blade, both the Silax and the Hystrix, they're very Dylan-esque. And I think it's him coming into his own as a relatively fresh knife maker in this world. His style is distinctive and noticeable, and it's really great to see him kind of branching out into fixed blades. So we're just really happy we can do this one with Dylan, and we're just really happy to have him, we're really happy to work with him all the time. He's a great guy. And his designs just have this panache to them that just is so striking, and we love it. We really want to showcase that artistic styling in his stuff with our products.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, first time doing two. Well, I can't say it's our first time doing fixed blades, but we're trying to push more of those interesting, dynamic, really kind of like up and coming fixed blades in our line for this year. And you will probably be seeing more in the rest of 2021. So we are planning to have more fixed blades out. So I think you, David, that'll probably make you happy when you see some of the stuff we might have coming up.
Music to my ears.
oh man, I know it.
Well, Russell, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day to kind of walk us through these models. Thanks for sending them over to us. For the folks out there watching this, make sure to check out the links in the description. We'll take you over to Artisan and CJRB's pages on the Knife Center. Most of this is not up yet, but if it's not, it will be soon. Watch our social media, watch the videos on this channel as well. Our weekly new knife series, we'll be sure to show them off there. Yeah, that's about all I've got for today. Russell, thanks so much, man.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This has been fantastic. I always love being here. I love talking, talk about it.
Me too. It's a good thing they put a camera on me, because as I've said a few times, otherwise I'm just sitting in a dark room talking about knives to myself, and yeah, it's not a pretty picture.
You're not wrong. That is my life, I swear. But again, thank you so much. Always wonderful working with KnifeCenter. We are very happy to showcase these, and I'm really excited to get these onto the website.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, we'll see you next time, hopefully in person at Blade Show. Take it easy, my friend.
Have a good one. Take care.